It's not often that I'll finish a game and still be conflicted about how I feel about it. Natural Doctrine was one such title. Developed by Katakawa Games and published in the West by NIS America, Natural Doctrine is a tactical RPG for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation Vita. I'll say this now, if you're not a fan of the genre, this game won't change your mind. Natural Doctrine is targeted towards the hardcore fans.
My citizenship.
You play as Geoff, hired by a woman named Anka to help explore goblin mines for a resource known as Pluton. This rare material is what provides the world with its magic. The last remaining human city, Feste, requires explorers to obtain Pluton in order to continue the city's progression.
Come on, we can cover all that later. For now, just go with Anka here.
During an expedition, the group runs into a new species, the Gorians. The game quickly becomes a battle for survival against this new threat. While the story isn't exactly what I would call bad, it just seems to exist only to move you from one location to another. There are plenty of cliches to go through, but the characters overall aren't too bad. Everything just feels underdeveloped. You'll often wonder if you've missed something, or if the game just didn't bother to properly explain what's going on. You shouldn't come to Natural Doctrine expecting an interesting plot or exciting side quest. Instead, the game lives or dies by its combat system. Looking at the battle screen for the first time can be a bit overwhelming. The screen is cluttered with information, and there are lines going all over the place. Natural Doctrine has a bit of a learning curve, though it's not as impenetrable as it may seem at first. At the top of the screen is the battle's turn order. Once it's your character's turn, you have free movement within the areas outlined in blue. Each area can only contain 4 characters at a time, though some characters are larger and count as 2 or 4 units. Any area controlled by the enemy has a red outline and cannot be moved through. This rule applies to both you and the enemy, so it's important to position your allies with shields in the front and ranged characters as space behind them. Here's where things get interesting. Every action a character can take after moving has the ability to link with other characters. For example, if you choose to use the guard ability, any character in an adjacent area will be allowed to take an extra turn instantly. If you decide to attack instead of guard, then anyone who is in range of your target will be allowed to take their turn as well. Every action has a link requirement, so it's important to learn them all and position your units correctly. It is important to keep in mind that the enemy plays by the exact same rules that you do. If one enemy unit decides to attack, it'll cause a chain reaction with the others to attack as well. This can become overwhelming and lead to a quick death of a character. This is where a lot of the game's difficulty comes from. If any character falls in battle, then it's game over. Luckily, Natural Doctrine does have a checkpoint system in battle, so you don't always have to start over.
I really messed up.
There are, of course, always an exception to the rules. One rule the enemy doesn't play by is the magic system. As you win battles and clear out goblin mines, you'll obtain Pluton, which is essentially the group's mana reserve. While you have a limited amount to work with that carries across all of your battles, the enemy can use as much as they want. Over the course of playing the game, I tried to use as little as possible, making some of the encounters way harder than they should have been. By the end of the game, I had more Pluton than I could actually use. While I'm not saying that you should just use all your special abilities every turn, don't feel too restricted. If you ever feel like you need more to progress, you can always go back and clear another goblin mine to obtain more. Here's a scenario. You have Geoff in the front lines with his shield up, ready to take the enemy's assault. After the first hit, however, he becomes staggered, meaning every hit will now connect, ensuring his death. Is your first thought, this is unfair? Or is it, next time, I will use some Pluton to cast Tranquility, making Geoff immune to stagger? If you think this is unfair, then you're probably not going to have a very good time with Natural Doctrine. Setting up a perfect defense is all too important in being successful. One wrong move will ensure the death of a party member. Because of this, I found any melee unit without the ability to block was rather useless. If they attack and kill an enemy, they automatically move into the enemy's area to claim it. The next turn, they would just be targeted and killed. You would have to ensure that the next move is yours so that you could then move them back behind your defensive line. In some ways, you could say combat is more of a puzzle, with only one solution to a victory. This isn't always true, however. One battle against a Minotaur requires the group to retreat as they battle him. This is because larger units will steal turns from you if you end your turn right next to them. My solution was to back our golem unit up against the wall in a defensive stance, casting steel protection on him, which is a defensive buff. Any unit that had a gun would be in position to provide cover fire. With my units being equipped with rings that increases their chance to stagger an enemy, the Minotaur would receive his extra turns, but he would be staggered for most of them. There are creative ways to get out of seemingly impossible situations. You just need to think about it before you get frustrated. One of the better features in Natural Doctrine is the ability to redistribute any skill points that your units acquire. Instead of having Geoff use his sword and shield for the Minotaur fight, I spent his skill points increasing his ability to wield guns. As soon as the fight was over, I could change him back at no cost. I could even make Zeke, my most underused character, somewhat useful. I'd give him as many buffing abilities as I could that would link with the other members, giving them extra turns. This opens up a lot of new ways to tackle any challenges that the game will throw at you. You can, of course, equip a few items to your characters. You can change their weapons and up to 2 ring slots. There are no shops to buy anything though. You'll need to open treasure chests in the areas that you explore to find them. All of the goblin caves can be revisited for loot. Just be careful how deep you go depending on your level. Natural Doctrine is quick to punish you for stepping where you don't belong yet. While I never got to try it out, the game does have online multiplayer, both cooperative and competitive. You build a deck of cards, each being a unit from the single-player game. You obtain card points, or CP, for logging in each day and playing matches. You then spend these points on improving your deck. There are various scenarios and objectives to attempt with or against a friend. It's a nice addition to the game, though there don't appear to be very many people playing it. It does support cross-platform play between the PS3, PS4, and Vita, however, but that makes the current online player count even more worrisome. While I cannot recommend Natural Doctrine to everyone, I feel it does have merit for fans of the genre. Some odd design decisions, such as having to move your units to an exit before you can leave the battle, slows the game down, and hearing the same voice samples over and over can be annoying. I will say that the difficulty takes a rather large spike at the end of the game. There are multiple difficulty settings, however, if you feel that things are becoming too much. The battle system can be wonderful, it's just a shame everything around it is mediocre at best. If you're a fan of the genre, give Natural Doctrine a shot, maybe when it's on sale. For anyone else looking to get into the genre, I would look elsewhere.